じゃあ、今帰るよ。
What? Oh, this is your artistic friend down here. Welcome back to Iwaihime. We're just gonna keep going. We ended the curse, so I have no idea what's gonna happen next. The girls were left in deep sorrow by Susumu Suzuhara's untimely death. Okay, so he did die. They all grieved for him, unable to repay him for setting them free from the curse that had resided in their hearts. His body was sent to his family, and his funeral soon followed. Aww. Everyone in the LCSC attended. Susumu's mother was shocked by her son's mysterious death, but his father was awfully calm, and that was because he'd received a revelation in a dream. I told him how Susumu had accompanied something very important, how he'd brought about a miracle to save someone dear knowing the cost, how he had lost his life in exchange, and how this was what he'd wanted. Mr. Suzuhara was sure the dream was real. As the president of the LCSC, Kanai read the eulogy. She spoke of how Susumu was most unlike a boy of his age and was respected and loved by all. She concluded the speech by speaking for all of them by saying she wished she could have had more time with him. Kanai went over to the casket and told Susumu how she was doing, how she'd gained the strength to carve her own path in life after he'd saved her. She would be leaving home and settled out on her own in the near future, but for far more positive reasons this time. Princess Alice of Wonderland would finally be going on her big adventure, she said through choked sobs. Tsubikiko cried her heart out at first, but eventually she could no longer hold herself back and clung to Susumu's body, shouting in a manner indistinguishable from sobbing. She was the one who embodied everyone's anger at his sudden unfair death. In my heart I will always be your wife, she said, and gave Susumu one last kiss. Narugi raced to the funeral during a gap in her busy schedule. She didn't break down, probably because mature women were strong against this sort of thing. But she knew the truth. She was only acting tough and putting off her sorrow for a short while. She was prepared to spend many nights from this day onward weeping for him. Natsuya was less sad and more in denial of his best friend's death. Susumu really would be dead if he believed it, so he made it all the way to this point, still not accepting the truth. But once he saw Susumu in the casket, his weak resolve shattered into pieces. With tears streaming from his eyes, he placed his prized one of a kind super rare card in the casket with his friend. And next was Toei. On the outside, she looked like the calmest of them all. Her face appeared to be as emotionless as it was at school. Now that she'd been freed from the curse, she shouldn't have needed a doll anymore, but she still carried one with her all the time. Because unless she kept holding it tight onto it, her emotions might burst out. Inagata gently placed her hand on Toei's shoulder. It's okay, you can let it all out at times like these. But Toei just shook her head. She refused to cry. After all, Susumu had brought about that miracle because he didn't want her to cry ever again. That was why she had to send him off with a smile. And yet, there was something wrong with her. Why were her eyes burning? She swore she would never cry. Susumu had spent 1,000 years to set her free, so she had to smile just as long. Toei gave Susumu's body the best smile she could muster. It was strained and hardly what most people would call genuine, but it was a smile nonetheless. Teardrops made rivers down her cheeks, and yet she smiled.
そうだ、進。みんなに聞いたぞ。みんな、お前とキスをしたというのに。私だけ、してない。死んじゃった進とキスしても、そんなの、キスに入らないぞ。
Toei mustered her courage and gave Susumu her first kiss. The kiss she kept from Sho Kaminuma, no matter how much he prodded her. Finally, Hinakata came over and leaned into the casket, almost like she was having one final chat in secret with Suzumu. Brother, are you alright with this? The 1,000-year curse has ended, but is this really how it should be? I know how you feel, brother, but still, if you understand, please grant me one request. Please use your power just this once to bring about a miracle. Please, just this once. Brother. Nagata rose with bitterness swelling in her heart. The curse had already been broken. Rokuga Mihigo no Makoto had returned to the heavens. No one would answer her. The suit within her would likely vanish sooner or later. After the sutras were chanted, the funeral presenter told everyone to see Suzumu off one last time. They all gathered at the altar and put flowers in the casket. Suzumu's portrait up above was smiling, but his body looked like he was sleeping. His mouth gaped like an innocent child's. The girls couldn't hold back their tears at the contrast between the two Suzumus. And finally, the time came to close the casket. Once the lid was shut, Suzumu's face would be lost to them forever. In that last moment, Toei finally broke down. She ran over to the casket and raised her voice for the first time, sobbing.
10年遅い。100年遅い。1000年遅い。次は何年だ。何年遅くなる。1000年でもいいから。ずっと待ってるから。だから絶対にまた帰ってくると約束してくれ。スズム。
じゃあ今帰るよ。
Toei jolted upright. She swore she heard Suzumu's voice.
スズム話せ。私の気が触れたんじゃない。聞こえた。確かに聞こえたんだ。スズムの声がした。スズムは生きてる。生きてるんだ。
The mourners all gaped in shock as the flowers spilled out of the casket.
スズム生きてる。生きてるよ。何をぼさっとしてるんですか。先輩生きてるんですよ。早く棺から出してあげて。
みんなここは
He doesn't realize he died.
葬儀場よ。あなたのね。
誰の。それよりすっごくお腹が空いたんだ。トエ。
スズム、いつの間に私のことを慣れ慣れしく名前で呼ぶようになったんだ。
君こそ僕のことを名前で呼んでるよ。
いいんだ。私たちは互いを名前で呼び合おうと決め合った。1000年も前に。はいはい、お葬式中止です。誰かお医者様を早く。お腹空いてるって。お供えの落雁あるけど食べる？食べる。私が食べる。だってもうお葬式意味ないし。食ってやる。こんなもんみんな食ってやる。
さすがはグレートススハラだぜ。デッキの最後に死者蘇生を仕込んでやがったな。俺このカード僕が欲しかったやつくれるの？
He gave him a monster reborn. That was the card he put in there. Oh, how just perfect.
お っと残念だな。こいつはモンスターがフィールドに戻るとき手札に戻るんだ。
The aftermath was a total mess. The whole room was a jumble of shock and joy at this unprecedented occurrence. No one had ever heard of the subject of his own funeral stuffing his cheeks with the sushi offered to his casket. Suzumi's parents laughed and cried when they got a call from the crematorium asking why the hearse hadn't arrived yet. It really was a total mess, but it didn't matter, not after a miracle like this. Afterwards, the doctor gave Suzumi a checkup, and with the exception of some minor atrophy, he passed with a clean bill of health. They kept him hospitalized for a few days to be safe, but then by the next week, Suzumi returned to his day-to-day life.
来たよ。それ
Once Suzumi entered the club room, the members of the LCC set off their party poppers all at once. Suzumi was literally bathed in colors from all the confetti. Soft drinks and tea set on the table with the words, "Welcome back from the dead," written on the blackboard.
よ、墓場帰り。また墓場に行ったら血祭りだからね。こっちも大切な人がお葬式で蘇生しましたってツイッターにつぶやいたらお祭り騒ぎですよ。大切な人って誰のことだろうって。もう論点ずれてますよね。おいらもいろんな摩訶不思議を経験してきたけど、こういうのは初めてだったね。おかえり、進む。
ただいま、トエ。
それでね。
Uh-huh.
今日は鈴原先輩と黒髪先輩にお聞きしたいことが山ほどございまして。クロッチとスズムン、先日以来どうしてチミたちは名前で呼び合う関係になったのかね。スズム、私以外にそう呼んでいい人がどうしてもう一人いるわけ？むしろならば私たちにもその呼び方を解禁するべきだと思いません？スズムン、ことと次第によっちゃ今日この場でまた墓場送りだからね。いつからあんたたちはそういう関係なの？キーキー。クロッチ、ごまかさない。いつからなんですか、先輩。
1000年前かな。
There was quite a shock, followed by a tumultuous uproar.
やれやれ、つくづくモテるグレートな男だぜ。
あなただってグレートよ。鈴原くんのグレートブラザー。あなたがここにあることはそれもまた奇跡の証なのだから。
奇跡の証？それウルトラレアカードの奇跡の証っすか？先生もやってたんですか、ゲーム。
何の話？先生よくわかんないわ。
Brother, even this miracle was a part of fate's design from the start, wasn't it? For there to be something, even us, the fragments of the gods, were not aware of, fate is quite the I can't speak. Capricious one. Inagata's hair shone in the sunlight as she gulped down a non-alcoholic beer. It almost looked like the antlers of the secret deer could be seen in that radiance. I wasn't expecting that. I have several questions. How? Probably skip the credits because I didn't want to get copyright struck just in case.
ほらトエ、呼んだらとっとと来いや。待たせんじゃね
I thought it was over. Well, that ends the, I guess, main story for Iwaihime. Up next is, what I saw, it said LCSC Good Days or something like that. So probably like an epilogue. I'm assuming, like an epilogue. That's the end of this video for Iwaihime. If you enjoyed this, subscribe, check out other stuff I've done, and I guess I'll see you next time. Bye bye.